We pretend to go out just until school is over. We're going to Dublin. Hey. You're the only boy in the world. I'm glad I dated.
You know, you can tell me anything, and I will love you no matter what.
I know.
Jesus, this must be what the inside of your gay brain looks like.
David.
Yeah, sorry, 1 second.
There you are.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great. Jeff in Las Vegas. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. Las Vegas is still counting, I think, isn't it, in the election?
We're waiting. Hopefully we'll have some sort of result today. I never thought my state would be such a deciding factor for the 2020 election. So
yeah, it's crazy. It's kind of,
it is,
we're all following it like a soap opera with very high stakes.
CNN for the last 48 hours, and I don't know when they sleep. But I had a break to watch Dating Amber, and I'm telling you, what a wonderful, funny, romantic, coming of age movie. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I mean,
oh, thank you. That's really cool.
Thank you for the escape. You know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, exactly. I think it's definitely the right time for comedy. Pardon?
You in Ireland right now?
No, I am Irish, but I live in just outside London. So,
okay.
yeah, like a lot of Irish people, I left. so I'm based just outside London.
Well, I just, my family and I visited there like 4 or 5 years ago. We spent 2 weeks. We went to the county of Cork. We went to had to see where they filmed The Quiet Man, and spent a week in Dublin. Saw a hurling match, a championship hurling match. So I bought Tipperary. I bought the shirt. You know, so that's my team. So I just love your country, and I love London too. Don't get me wrong. So
I mean, no, I love art. My mom's from Cork. You know, my dad played hurling for County Kilt. Like I love Ireland. I miss it dreadfully because of the pandemic. I haven't been able to go back. I used to go back like once a month, and because all this has been so long, so it's crazy.
Well, I love Dating Amber. So your movie is set in 1995, and accepting attitudes they were just pretty much non-existent then, weren't they?
I mean, yeah, it was beginning. I think the film is set kind of when Ireland was beginning to liberalise, but it was only in 1993 that homosexuality was even decriminalised in Ireland. So these characters grew up not just being kind of taboo, but being criminal, and I think that was very much so this feeling. That spectre of the Catholic Church was really there when I was a child. And I kind of wanted to bring that to life. But I think just back then, generally, whether you're in Ireland or England or America, there was that kind of accepted homophobia that kind of just pervaded, like sitcoms and society in general, that kind of made it very difficult for people. But what I find really touching and kind of not so touching is that how much my younger cast and younger people have really connected with the film, because I assumed it would be people of my age and older who got the nostalgia bump from it, but actually it's really resonated with people now and their experiences, because I think school is still a really tricky place to be, and coming out is still a very difficult thing to go through, no matter how accepting we think our society has become. So
Yeah, because in the beginning of your film, I thought, are they all the Irish sex crazed people? Because your movie starts right off with
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what happens when you try and repress sex. We just get sex crazed.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So, and even trying to be acceptance, even back then. I mean, you were showing flyers about divorce being bad. I thought, wow, they're never going to accept homosexuality if you can't even start with divorce.
Exactly. I mean, in 1995, when this film is set, is when we had the divorce referendum that enabled the divorce in Ireland. I mean, it's such a recent thing. And it was, like I said, it was the beginning of when Ireland really began to open up and become more liberal. But that was the start of it. And it's kind of quite crazy to see how far we've come in such a short space of time.
I love Amber, because you set up her character right away. She's, scratching London Calling in her notebook, the Clash. So it just sets who she is up right away. This anarchist, anti-fascist demonstrator, it just sets up her character.
She's amazing. I mean, played brilliantly by Lola Pettiker, who's just so brilliant. But yeah, I mean, I think, Amber and Eddie are both kind of, I'm more like Eddie. I wished I was more like Amber because she was so brilliant. But I grew up kind of loving all that punk stuff and loving zines and and being very pretentious and wanting to go to London. And yeah, I think she's just the embodiment of the best parts of teenage pretension, in which I adore.
Yeah, because Eddie and Amber are such opposites, even though they're equals in some ways. And they had great chemistry together. Lola and Finn, I mean, did you know when you saw them audition or you put them together? Because they were it was so natural.
Yeah, no, I think, the casting process was really long, and all my anxiety was wrapped up in casting Eddie and Amber. And, we got loads and loads of self-tapes, and I knew kind of their tapes individually were amazing, but it was when we got them together for a chemistry read that it really was just electricity. It was extraordinary, and I knew we had found our leads, and 95% of my anxiety left me. But then we had a really long, what I didn't anticipate, and what was such a gift, is they became best friends over the course of the rehearsal. They really do, even to this day. Like, they spent lockdown together, they live in each other's pockets, and they really are just best friends. And I think that it is that kind of genuine kind of love for each other that sings through in the film. You can see how much they care for each other, and I think that's what is the heart and soul of the movie.
And Lola reminds me of an Irish Winona Ryder. She really does.
Yeah, that's actually a really good shout. I always think she's yeah, no, I think that's a really good shout. Yeah, no, I'd accept that. I think she'll accept that as well.
And when Amber wears that dress with a flower in her hair, I was dying. I mean, I had to stop the movie because I just kept laughing when she shows up at the door with that dress on, and it was just outrageous.
No, it's one of the funniest scenes. And actually, Lola chose that dress. I think she chose a lot of things in the film, as did Eddie. They chose a bit of the soundtrack, they chose some of their costuming. But yeah, it's just so funny and so not her. But such an idea of what you think femininity is when you're not feminine. Yeah, it's such a great scene. But again, she's just so good. She's so funny.
And one of my favorite sequences is the day trip to Dublin. And it's amazing how you can go from the absurd and funny and then right to dramatic. I mean, that's a really delicate balance that you can do, that you can make us laugh, and then 1 minute it just turns and you feel the struggles they're going through.
Yeah, and I think, that was really important to me and the script. And again, it's because of the actors, but I think for me, that's what makes it really realistic, actually. I think very often we miss that I think life is full of heart and humor. And I think very often comedy leads its way to the most poignant moments. And I think very often with these kind of films in the past, they are very, very often very dark and po-faced. And that just wasn't my experience, and it wasn't true to my life. And I wanted to make a film that kind of reflected my experience of growing up, which, in hindsight was hilarious and really sad and, really moving. But I just wanted to bring all that to the screen in a way that I guess I hadn't seen yet. I wanted to make the movie that I wished I'd had when I was, 17.
And I really enjoyed the club scene because being a daddy raver here in Las Vegas, I could totally understand what they were doing. And as soon as they did, I was like, they're just going to have this bond now that's going to be just unbreakable.
Yeah, I mean, I think that experience of going to a gay club in particular for the first time, it's something quite euphoric, and it's scary and exhilarating, and I just really wanted to capture that experience and the essence of that experience. And like you said, it does actually, when you go through that with somebody else, it really does bond you in a way that it really does connect you. And yeah, it was such a fun day of shooting. It was just hilarious.
And it really drove me crazy in your movie because you're waiting for Eddie to come around, and every time you think it's going to happen, it gets worse. He just goes the opposite way, from being violent to denying everything. I mean, you just milk it until the very end, and you're like, but Lola, she was easy to accept, Amber, and so the entire movie is all from Eddie's perspective about, so you think it's harder for men to come out than women?
No, I don't think so. But I think in this film, that's just, I think for me, Eddie just can't come to terms with who he is and his sexuality, full stop. But for Amber, she is more at ease with who she is, but she can't countenance coming out in her hometown. And it's a very different struggle. And I think for me, I really wanted to bring, I was always, I was one of the many, many people who ended up needing to leave in order to find myself. And that's Eddie's journey. But I was always really in awe of those people who had the strength to kind of be themselves and come out in those small areas. And they're the people in many ways who affected the most change. And I wanted kind of Eddie and Amber to reflect those two different sides of that experience. But yeah, I mean, I think it just so happens in this film that that's the way it is. But I think, you know, I don't think it's easier for men by any stretch. I think it can be very difficult. I think it's such a personal experience, and it's, you know, I don't think there's one coming out story that is the same as another.
And I just love Eddie's mom in this movie, Sharon Horgan.
Sharon Horgan.
I just adore her, and his little brother. You know, so I love that you had his family life. Well, there was a lot of love there. I know the parents were going through some problems, but I just love the moments with his little brother, you know, because there's such teasing going on. And I'm glad he wasn't the typical little, I'm the little brother in my family.
Yeah.
So I'm just glad that, you know, that there was such support there for him. And, you know, it was such a, I loved his family life.
I mean, yeah, I wanted to make sure it was a fleshed out kind of family for both of them. And, you know, I wanted to make sure, even though this is very much Eddie and Amber's journey, that the characters around them had their own journeys and struggles and issues to deal with, because that is reality. And very often you're dealing with your own thing and you don't realize the power of your words, the impact they're having on somebody else, or you're just not aware of what's going on in somebody else's life. But yeah, it was, you know, I think this film is quite autobiographical, and I think that particularly the character of Sharon Horgan is very much so based on my mother. And you know, she just, you know, some of the scenes in the film that make me cry the most are hers. And I really wanted to bring that experience for the mom of a young kid struggling, who kind of senses what's going on but doesn't know how to broach it with their child. Yeah, Sharon just did it so well, and she's such a funny actor. She's just brilliant.
Loved her. You know, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The scene where Eddie's father was on the couch, and you know, I thought they were gonna have a moment there, but you cut the scene real short. So when he started crying, when he started admitting how difficult it was with his father, I thought there was going to be a moment there. So I didn't know if that was supposed to laugh or cry at that.
Yeah, no, I think whatever your reaction is right. For me, you know, it was really important that Dad, you know, because, you know, that we subverted the idea of the kind of very militant military father who's very tough, and actually that he has his own issues. And I wanted to make sure that came through, and that he has his own baggage with toxic masculinity. But yeah, I mean, for me, it wouldn't have been honest or truthful if Fionn, Edgy, played by Fionn, kind of hugged him and embraced him there, because he's so repressed and dealing with his own stuff. And, you know, had my father done that, I would have just shriveled up and not known what to do as well, because I think that's very often, we don't teach boys how to deal with emotion. And that was, you know, truthful to what Eddie was going through at the time. You know, but I think, you know, I think you're right. It's funny and it's sad. And I think that's, you know, very often those things should exist at the same time, because, you know, very often they do. But yeah, I think Barry Ward, who played the dad, is amazing, and he really brought so much.
I was wondering what Eddie was thinking. Here's his military dad, always tough, and then just all of a sudden just breaks down after talking about his father, you know. So, and Eddie just didn't have any, he just kept looking for, you know what I mean? So it's just, it's a really interesting scene. It could be interpreted so many different ways.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's a really great scene. And I think it's a moment where I guess Eddie is kind of sees his dad for the first time.
And you have, you know, I had bullies growing up. So Ian O'Reilly, Kev, he was like the typical bully. Was it hard to cast a teenage Irish kid as a bully?
I mean, yeah. I mean, Ian is an amazing actor. He's such brilliant comic timing. And yeah, I mean, I think for me, I wanted to make sure that even though he is a bully and his words are very hurtful, he didn't come across as intentionally mean or kind of nasty. It's just, he just, like a lot of teenagers, he doesn't realize the weight of what he's saying. I think Ian is, you know, is just such a likable person in many ways. And he, you know, he does it, but he's so brilliant with it. Yeah, and I wanted to make sure that he's redeemable. You know, he kind of grows throughout the film in his own way. And I like to imagine in years to come, he's actually a really enlightened, lovely man. Just, he was mean at the time. But yeah, I mean, the casting of all those secondary roles, so I think our secondary cast are amazing. And actually all those other kids, Ian and Lauren, who plays Sarah, and the girls who play Janet and Tracy, Anastasia and Emma, we actually cast them all for the casting of Eddie and Amber. And we had so many brilliant actors. And, you know, it was kind of, Fiona and Lola were just were just right for those roles, and they were incredible. We had auditioned all these other brilliant actors, so it was kind of like, okay, well, what role would they be right for, because they're too good not to have in the film. So from the really wide casting we did for Eddie and Amber, we actually ended up finding almost all the other teenagers, which was brilliant. And yeah, and it's such a great ensemble cast around the leads. I think they all have their scene stealing moments. They're all just so funny.
Totally fair. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today, David. I enjoyed the film immensely. And just for the record, I could never pass the cadet fitness test either. So
yeah, no, me neither. It's not going to happen.
Good luck with the film, and come visit us in Las Vegas when you have a chance. We'd love to have you, because I can't wait to go back to London or Ireland.
Excellent. No, I'd love to go. Thank you.